Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are discussing technology, innovation, and talent development. And we have wonderful speakers with us today. We have Prabha from Intel and Manjeet from Tally. I'll introduce them respectively. So, Prabha is the engineering director and a seasoned engineer leader with close to 3 decades of industry experience spanning multiple businesses and verticals. Currently, Prabha leads Edge AI developer platforms and solutions engineering at Intel. Prabha has been at Intel for 9+ years and has held multiple leadership roles within client engineering, AI platforms, and ADAS groups. Prior to Intel, Prabha has led engineering charters for Texas Instruments, where she built and ramped several mobile and automotive customers. Her experience areas span AI, cloud, and edge native systems, automotive, safety included, and infotainment, mobile, and embedded systems, and open source. Prabha holds a master's degree with Indian Institute of Science. Manjeet from Tally. Manjeet serves as a group manager engineering at Tally and is a strategic growth leader with 10 years of multifaceted experience in product development. Manjeet owns various architectural and framework development projects for feature development aimed at wider adoption of products, product simplification, API development, enabling ecosystem collaborations, and UI simplification within Tally suite of products. He has deep experience in building and leading high-performing multifunctional teams. He also plays a crucial role in spearheading internships. He has, he has been a key leader behind the inception of Tally Code Brewers, Tally's hackathon for engineering students. He's deeply passionate about growth of people, contributing to students' careers, and bridging the gap between academia and industry in a meaningful way. Thank you, Manjeet and Prabha, for joining us today. For
Thank you,
all the
Aparna.
attendees, absolutely. For all the attendees listening in today, the format of this webinar would be a discussion between all three of us. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave these comments as comments below the video, and we will address those at the end of the meeting. So since the topic of discussion is technology innovation, I'll straight to that. And Manjeet, my first question would go to you. And particularly into digital transformation. Tally has been a cornerstone in the finance industry for years. So, how has the company embraced digital transformation to stay relevant in an increasingly tech-centric world? And what opportunities does this offer for engineers?
First of all, Aparna, thank you for having me, and I'm very excited to be part of this panel. Uh, Absolutely, Tally has been at the forefront of finance software for our MSMEs of the country. We have been a pioneer in this, and be it any accountant, any CA, any business owner, they don't trust anything more than Tally with their financial data. And as the industry has been growing, we are talking about digital transformation in terms of whether something as simple as internet becoming more and more easily available to now, connected and embedded finance coming into picture. And all of those things that used to be a daydream a few years ago has now become mainstream. So we at Tally have positioned ourselves to leverage all of them in a wonderful manner. And the core philosophy has remained the same: make life of businesses easier. Therefore, now help accelerate the economy. So, what we have done now is our suite of products is now much richer. It leverages connectivity in a great way. You can do a lot of things from within the product, which would otherwise require the people to go outside of the product and do things. And key thing is, it's not only that our products have been updated to take advantage of it. We as an organization have also transformed ourselves to take advantage of it, be it in terms of how something as simple as how does the attendance get recorded, and something like how do the bills and the claims get processed. All of that has been leveraging digital in a big way. And for the opportunities to engineers, I think it's just an era that is going to grow exponentially from here onwards. Because as we become more connected, the use cases now become multifold. Therefore, now anyone entering the field is at a place where innovation can happen at a very, very fast pace. Now, this is again an opportunity and a challenge. The low hanging fruit of easy jobs will probably reduce, but the at the same time, somebody who is working in their skill set from ground upwards that if you understand the basics of the technology that you're working with, whichever field is it, that you don't really understand only the frameworks at the top, but you do things from ground up. If somebody is doing that, that is the number one opportunity for the engineers to contribute.
That's fantastic. And Prabha, similar to the topic of innovation, Intel is known for its countless contributions to the tech industry. What are the key transformations you see that Intel would be driving in the future, and how can engineers be a part of this transformation?
Sure. And first off, thank you, Arpana and Naukri team, for having me on this conversation. I'm quite excited to talk about Intel, what we are doing, and how engineers would find great careers and learning at Intel. To me, the way I would summarize is Intel is a hugely diversified. There is a diversified technical, spectrum at Intel that we're all working on. So let me go from one end to the other. One of the key tenets of Intel as a semiconductor giant in the industry is the IDM, the integrated, device manufacturing, and the very recently, Pat, who's our CEO, talked about the Intel Foundry services that we're bringing in. It's a huge transformation where Intel, we are offering our, I would say, state of art foundry services, especially at the cutting edge processing nodes to external customers, so that customers can benefit, many other design houses can benefit with new silicon, right? So that's one of the big transformations that our company is driving, which opens up a lot of opportunities for engineers who are very key in working on silicon technologies. So that's going to be very big. You would have heard about Intel talking about bringing in to 5 processing nodes in the next few years, and all the way going towards the Armstrong, Armstrong spectrum, right? So there is a huge amount of innovation that is happening in the technology side, in the technology development side, in order to realize these processing nodes. The next one is about design, and Intel is known for its microarchitectures and design since decades, and we've been really at it at the cutting edge over there. So for engineers who are working on silicon design, there is a lot of activity that we are doing around all our data center and AI, and in our networking, edge AI, and also in our client spaces. A lot of activities that are going on over there. The transformations that we are driving are around new microarchitectures that are happening, and new technologies and packaging that's happening, that is helping us build better silicon for better power management and also better efficiencies. So there's a lot of activity going on around design, around packaging, around technology development, right? And from there, if we shift towards accelerators, there is beyond the CPUs. Intel has recently, announced a few quarters ago our graphics line, and we are looking at, that mainstreaming. Even now, we are one of the big players in gaming. And beyond that, we have also announced the Gaudi 2 AI, which is an accelerator that is quite popular now, with a lot of transformative technologies that is coming in and really breaking a lot of benchmarks today with respect to competition. And now when we are looking at some of our client, as in our PC devices, again, there's a huge transformation going on with respect to form factors that we have always been working on. So you would see much more sleeker form factors of our devices, whether it's laptops or desktops. There's also much better experiences that we are offering, and with our client devices. AI is all pervasive, so you would see a lot of AI driven experiences across our products now and across our business units. Specifically, in the business unit that I work in, networking and edge, there is a huge transformation happening from fixed function networking towards software defined networking, and there's a lot of opening that we see today for building software defined frameworks and networking. That's a big potential, big area for some of the software expertise and software talent to come in. There's a huge amount of activity around AI. I did mention that. We'll talk about it, if there are other questions that are coming in. But especially with AI in, and also with cloud related technologies that we are building in with the software, a lot of talent around the cloud software and orchestration and AI is pretty vital to Intel. So if there are engineers who have similar talent, definitely this would be a great area and a great place to work on.
That's great to hear, Prabha. It seems like there's innovation in practically every segment, and there's a lot of opportunity that's open for engineers. Speaking specifically for engineers, Manjeet, my next question is to you. Can you share a specific example of a recent technological innovation development by the software development team that has had an impact on the finance industry, and how engineers played a role into that? Just so that we can connect the dots between the building phase and the final product.
Absolutely, Aparna. So, if you look at the history of Tally, uh, we uh, uh, we are a company which believes in building technology ground up. If we start with our history, we have written our own database. There are very few companies in the world who will write their own database to create a business management software. We have our own parsers, we write our own UI engine even to this day. So that is the kind of history with which we come, and that is the philosophy we operate with. The key advantage, if you see, the key factor, not the advantage, but the factor for MSMEs is the cost of doing business. That when they are running their operations, they are not at enterprise level and they cannot afford very costly hardware. And therefore, the things have to be such that even with a commodity hardware, you are able to give them a superior performance. So this is the core philosophy, and we write a lot of system code. So now connecting this to what you just asked me, that how the innovation has helped the end customer. So the area is that recently you would have heard of e-way bill and e-invoice. So government has been reducing the limit of e-invoice threshold. It used to be 500 crores, almost 2 years back, and now it is at 5 CR. That is, if your business has ever had a turnover of more than 5 CR, all B2B invoices have to be uploaded to the NIC portal, and then you will get a QR code which has all that information. So what we have done is the first deployment which we did 1.5 years back. After that, the threshold has been reducing drastically, and now we are at 5 CR, and we did not need to upgrade our deployment even once, which means the same capacity which we had deployed back then, and it is a very low capacity, a very low cost, but very high capacity hardware that we have used here. So the key contribution from the engineering team is that we have what extracted the most amount of juice of the hardware, such that now, even as the limit has reduced, the count of users has become 20x, the same deployment continues to serve them at a low cost. And all of that credit goes to our engineering team, who not only networking, but system programming and all of that, they go really in depth to deliver that high value.
That's really great. Thank you for that example. Really breaks it down to and actually helps us envision how it all flows through. Um, Prabha, you just mentioned AI, and I am still stuck at that because that is the hot topic of discussion these days. So I have to ask you, because the wave of AI is sweeping the industry, of every single industry, and has touched everyone practically. So what do you see as key trends and open challenges in AI, and what are the key areas that Intel is diving in with AI? If you could elaborate on those points, that'd be fantastic.
Awesome. Sure. Yes, I think no conversation today is complete without AI. It's definitely I would say, on top of everyone's minds, most all engineers' minds. So let's talk about it. Um, I think AI had a very long journey. If I just step back, right? We've had winters of AI. If you look at when really it was very much in a research realm and was never implementable. I have seen those winters earlier on in my career when there was a lot of work on AI in research, but not really implementable. In the last 1 decade, you could see that with the advent of CNNs, with the advent of frameworks like TensorFlows and others, it made much more easier for developers to use AI and bring in realistic use cases. So we have seen an explosion in the past decade or so. Um, and now I think some of the key trends that came up was one is democratizing, especially with the type of frameworks, with the type of technologies and simplified forms of uh, of realizing machine learning. We have now more democratized it to an implementable form so that there are realistic real world use cases that we are solving today. Something like a chatbot was not possible say 10 years ago, and today most of us have excellent chatbots that we use in day to day life, right? So that's really good. The other one is also about you know the other key thing that's coming up is about the bias in AI. We have I think that's a long journey that we are having today. For example, are we doing ethical AI? Right? Are we pushing in biases around AI? That's a big trend that we are still working on. There are certain improvements, I think, but there is definitely that's a longer journey that we would continue. I would say that is still not a closed problem that would definitely be there. The other one is explainable AI. Again, a very good area that we are still working on. Some of our AI technologies are explainable while not everything is, which is why we look at, hey, how exactly does a particular algorithm do what it does, right? That's a problem. It's still an open research that's going on. We have made some progress, but not really over there, right? The other key thing, which is also very important in today's context, is sustainable AI, right? As AI is exploding and you see a lot of new models being built, and I'll talk very exclusively about the new generative AI trend. You see that we are burning a lot more power in order to realize many of those applications, right? And that's not um, I think that is not a sustainable approach initially, but then we are just opening up that area. So what I see is sustainable AI would be one of the key areas. How can you realize better AI when with lesser power becomes very, very important, right? Intel is working on all of these. Now let me dive down into specific area, which again, no conversation on AI is complete without generative AI, the new large language models, which is like, I would say, on the top of, I may use the word hype cycle, but definitely you see a huge promise today, right? Over there, if you see again, the way I would summarize is AI until now had been used to automate many of the tasks. We were looking at stuff like robotic process automation and how we can replace, some of the existing manufacturing or automatable jobs with AI. But now with generative AI, I think we are looking at the creative side of things, not about automation alone, but about how to create, right? And that's going to open up a completely new paradigm on how we will use AI. Right. Some of the key, I think there's a huge amount of literature on how LLMs, the large language models, and generative AI in general would change the world. You could, since the advent of GPT, right, from in November, there's been an explosion, I would say a Cambrian explosion of use cases around today, right? So some of the key things that, you would see is, number one is about prompt engineering. Some of the areas about, hey, how do I make my prompts better so that I get a right response is big today, right? Um, Context optimization. How do I optimize the context? Because a lot of these agents are as good as the context that we give, right? So how do you improve the context? How do you optimize the context becomes very important. That's the other one. The other one is all about building simpler, cheaper models, because the cheaper we make, the more implementable it is, and the more implementable it is, the more pervasive it is. So that would be a huge area of interest, and that would be something that would be an ongoing journey, right? The other thing that would come up is, as AI becomes very creative, how do you decide the truth of it? Or I would say, how do you decide whether whatever creative AI has brought up is the right one or not? It's in AI language we can call that as hallucination, right? So how do you make sure that your AI does not hallucinate and it's really giving something that's closer to truth? So that's another big area of work. How do you assess the models? That will be a big one. The other one that would be coming up very soon, I would say, is about multiple models, multiple data. Today we give a lot of text data or specific video data, but eventually we will be talking about a lot of multi data. How can I give multiple data, both video and text data, and let my model understand that, right? So these are some of the areas that would become big. And another one that would be, I think, also very important to scenarios in especially in India, is how do I build language models for non-English? This also would be, I would say, something that would be an open area that would be working on. There are a lot more for sure. This area is burgeoning, right? But I would say, these are the top that I can think of.
That's really informative, and thank you for diving into every open opportunity that could exist. And I think that's unlimited at this time, is what I'm seeing. Manjeet, keeping on the same track, have at Tally, have we seen any influence of AI, and how are you embracing this AI wave at Tally?
Absolutely. So what one thing that we are a B2B focused organization, and one thing that we have felt quite often is that uh, the consumer side of things moves very fast. You have UPI, you have generative AI, all of those things find use cases in a B2C space very frequently. But businesses continue to operate in the same old tech. And that is something that we have been working very aggressively to bridge. And we are exploring the applications of AI to business processes, be it in terms of invoice entry automation, be it in terms of, so inside Tally Prime, businesses maintain a lot of their data. Now, how the points which Prabha mentioned, building on top of it. So one is it has to be ultra low cost. There is no way a business will pay, more than maybe a few dollars every year or every, to access those insights. And currently we are talking, in multiple scales beyond that. Secondly, the data privacy is the key. Now we want to bring the benefits of AI and ML to the masses of Indian businesses while keeping into center the privacy of the data. So those are the two areas where we have been focusing on, and we are exploring, because another thing that becomes very important in terms of businesses, it has to be accurate. So the accuracy expected in a B2C space versus a B2B
Is very
space,
important.
there is a huge difference. So those are the things, because if customers, get something wrong, they will just try. But businesses, that we have a very low tolerance. That is what we have seen in our experience. So we are indeed working to arrive at the models which are low cost, which can keep customer privacy at center, and which are very, very high accuracy, and then make some of those efficiencies available to the businesses as well. And I think there is a huge, in terms of, because we have a lot of budding engineers with us here today. I think I touched about database development and system programming earlier, but club that with AI and data science and their applications to real world data. That I think is a huge opportunity. If there are any enthusiasts on this field, here you should really figure out how Indian businesses and MSME businesses across the globe can leverage the AI and ML. There is a huge opportunity.
Great, Manjeet. That seems like there's also opportunities that are building up. But speaking on emerging technology or trends, what are some emerging technologies or trends that you see or foresee shaping the future of fintech, coming to the larger picture? And how is Tally positioning itself to lead in those areas and create exciting opportunities for engineers to be able to contribute to that success?
So fintech is at a very interesting vantage point in this time. We are at a inflection point where, we started with things like UPI, and then now we have embedded finance. We are financing, lending, insurance, all is embedded in the apps that we use today. And then with data privacy and DPDP coming into picture, uh, digital personal data protection bill has been introduced by the government. It is at a number of things are evolving. The connectivity has become, super easily available. The prices of hardware have gone down. So what this means is that the stage is set for now businesses to really leverage. So if we talk about some of the trends that are emerging, is that there is a now a data privacy in place, wherein if I am the customer, my data control resides with me. If you have heard of the new framework released by RBI, it is called Account Aggregator Framework, wherein you are control of your data, and who uses that data, you can give permission. So it is no longer, once you have shared the document with one bank official, it can get used everywhere. That is not going to be the case anymore. And now same things will get applied to the fintech domain for this data, that if I have my KYC data, who can access it, who can share it, who can use it. Those are the things that are coming into picture now. And again, the loans for B2C, customers have very easy access to loan. Why? Because you are an individual, you can share your PAN, and then bank knows your data, and then you can access credit very easily. For businesses, what we have seen is it's very different, because business has typically multiple partners. Now you may be staying at a different address, your business may be at a different address. You may not be managing your accounts properly because you are unstructured. So you do it at the end of the month. So that gives you an irregular representation of your data. So now how do you leverage this new technology, be it in terms of account aggregator, AI/ML, use of advanced statistics, and then embedded finance to make lending accessible to Indian businesses, build awareness, how they can use it to scale their business. And then they should be able to access these again at a reasonable cost. Currently, the cost of credit is very high in these segments. So these are some of the things that we have seen. And we at Tally, uh, uh, businesses are close to our heart. We are working very aggressively to make lending easy for them. That if a business needs loan, how can I provide it to that business at a low cost, in a faster pace, and from reputed lenders across the country. That is our goal in next 1 to 2 years, and we are working very aggressively towards it. From engineers perspective, I think uh, one thing that we often tend to think is that I don't really need to understand the functional part of it, that my core job is to write tech. While yes, the core job is to write tech, we have to have a contextual use of the tech. If we are talking about API integration, if you're talking about scale, cloud, how does that actually come into picture when we are talking about a real world use case? So somebody who understands these things, you understand finance, you understand at the basic level, and then you understand how the APIs and systems can talk to each other. I think it's going to change the world. One thing I would want all our listeners to think about is that we use UPI day in day out, right? Just go and talk to a business. Are they able to use UPI for their B2B payments? You would be surprised that they don't use it because the constraints are that heavy. So the MSME space, the business space, is where the next set of shift will come in, and there are very exciting things.
That's super interesting to hear. So, what I'm hearing is actually to help MSMEs grow. Right now, the focus is to be able to provide them faster, more efficient, and access to capital.
Absolutely.
And engineers that are supporting or collaborating with these teams can help support that and make this efficient far more possible. Um, Exciting to hear, and really work that really would help this sector grow. I'll take a pause here for 1 second and remind everybody who's in the audience, if they have any questions, please feel free to send those in as comments. We will be taking those at the end of this session. Going into the second half of our session, where there is innovation, where there is staggering amount of growth, sustainability becomes an increasing concern. So Prabha, since sustainability is a growing concern, and how is Intel incorporating sustainable practices and green technologies into its solutions for the connected and intelligent world that we live in now, and how are engineers contributing to to Intel's sustainability goals? If you could help us
Sure.
understand that better. Mhm.
Definitely. Actually, and a good and a very relevant question for the current world, Aparna. I think our compute, as you see, our the needs, the type of experiences that we are looking at has grown exponentially. The computing needs also have grown exponentially. And while there are a lot of innovations that are happening today in the silicon world, in the systems world, where we try to optimize as much as we can, there's a huge explosion of use cases that are very, very power hungry. Case in point is the one that is right in front. That's the generative AI use case, right? um, I think some of the key things that we are looking at right now, I think at Intel is very committed with respect to sustainability. So let me talk about right from the corporate goals, right? We are looking at net zero by 2040 with respect to greenhouse gases. That's the big goals that our CEO has been calling out specifically. And also by 2030 we have very big goals that show the progress towards it with respect to how we are optimizing both our own factories, how we are building sustainabilities into our own operations, as well as building those benefits to our customers, passing on benefits to our customers, especially with respect to optimized solutions. So if you see, I think from the silicon world, if you see, there's a huge amount of power optimizations that we work on, and we look at very, very cutting edge transformational power management techniques in our solutions, whether it's data center, whether it's networking and edge, or our accelerators, or even our client computing, right? Across the board, where we typically look at the type of usage in that particular business, optimize right from silicon level the type of power that is required, right? This is an ongoing activity. There are several technologies that we bring in order to dynamically manage power and provide power where exactly it's required, rather than a uniform power that really wastes it across the die. So there's a huge amount of literature that's available from Intel, even publicly on some of these technologies. Beyond that, the other thing is one of the other key things is telemetry. You cannot control something that you cannot measure. That's key. So, and how can you measure? You need to have very deep telemetry in order to understand what sort of use case is burning what sort of power in, and what are those hotspots, whether it is at the silicon, at the system, or at the app layer, the entire software stack, right from the silicon all the way to the application. So we have built very, very innovative telemetry solutions that our customers, our businesses, and our customers can use in order to optimize, measure and optimize. The other key tenet is also to look at software-based solutions, which in many cases, especially in areas like networking, provide a more sustainable solution as the technology emerges, you could provide a much more agile and upgradable software that makes it much more sustainable rather than fixed cost software, fixed cost, I would say fixed function hardware, right? That's one of the key tenets that Intel is driving in, and also use accelerators and purpose built hardware on specific activities, specifically around data center, around maybe packet management, for example, which really gives us the best performance per watt. So it's a combination of all this. But yes, sustainability is on the top of Intel's goals. Intel has these RISE goals where we look at sustainability, inclusion, and how to evolve across these functions in order to build a much more, I would say, a better world as we are moving towards more connected and intelligent world. So there's a huge amount, a huge spectrum of technologies, I would say, to summarize, that we work in order to bring this to bear.
That's really great to hear. I'm sure there's engineers who'd like to hear that, because we're becoming increasingly more cautious around the way that we are developing and ensuring that it's sustainable. So thank you for that overview. Coming to the micro of it, and probably more relevant to all the attendees, Manjeet, I'm bringing the conversation a little bit towards all the engineers who are probably looking for opportunities at Tally. So what initiatives does Tally have in place to nurture and develop engineering talent, and how do these programs contribute to the company's reputation of a top employer? We'd love to hear how that's happened over the last few years and what it's going to be going forward.
That's a very interesting question, Aparna. And so we at Tally, we believe that our strength lies in having the best people and then helping them develop, their core competencies. I will answer this in three pronged response I'll have for this one. So we look at talent development in three buckets. One is the existing employees, then second is the new employees, and then third is engineering students who may or may not join Tally, but they can, still they will grow and be engineers and contribute. So for our existing employees, we have a platform named Compass, where you name it, and we have the course and the content available from some of the best names across. And both the premium and the free content is made available in a very structured manner. And the conversations can happen with the manager. That, I as a manager can say, hey, I think this topic will be useful to you, and then person can access it. And of course, they are free to explore on their own. That is one. Second, a lot of learning happens from the peers, wherein there is a subject matter expert, there is somebody who is very strong in compilers, for example, and now they can take a session on that internally. So for that, we are having something which we call as tenets. In fact, we just had the second edition of tenets last month, where we talk about technology at Tally, and it is currently internal event, but I think very soon you will hear more about it. And third thing is we have internal hackathon for our employees, where we give some very interesting problem statements. People, team up, and then they come up with the innovative solutions, which probably otherwise would take much longer to come. So this is for the existing employees. For new employees, we hire very heavily for our size in terms of, yeah, we are that way comparatively, we are a smaller engineering team, but we hire, in a large number. And we focus a lot on the induction of the freshers, that when they join us, we don't just get them into working on the live projects and all. We have a very I would like to believe, with the bias of having designed it, that it is probably one of the best induction program that an engineer can go through, because it covers everything from programming languages to fundamentals of system programming, networking, all of that from an application perspective. And this is key to have a mindset of, because in our colleges what we learn is, we learn application development. What we focus on is the non-functional aspects. If you see, the conversations today are about all the non-functional things: cost, performance, privacy. So functionality gets taken for granted. So that is the mindset which we try to develop, and that sets the stage for budding engineers that go a long way. And thirdly, we believe that the nurturing of talent has to start much earlier at the academic level itself. And with that thought, we started Tally Code Brewers, which is our campus hackathon for engineering students. We have done 3 editions of it. It's very uniquely, the format is very unique. You don't just submit a solution, you are guided by somebody who is working at Tally throughout the weekend as you solve the problem, and which then acts as not only something that they can build on in their academic career, but also gives them a shift of mindset, that how to think about a real world production software, and don't just write some program which runs. We do have a very interesting internship program as well. People from Code Brewers or any of other people can reach out to us for internships. So yeah, this is largely the things that we do to nurture talent within and outside. And on the impact perspective, how does it help us become a employer of preferred choice? So we believe that when you create value for students and when you create value for professionals, then it starts reflecting, because if you have participated in a hackathon and you had a great experience, it is obviously going to come out. A lot of it will be organic, and we have seen that through the engagement that we received on some of these activities. Sometimes even we are surprised by the scale at which it has reached. So yeah, that's a little longer answer, but I hope this is what you're looking for.
No, that's a fully cohesive answer. Thank you so much. That explains it end to end. On a very similar note, Prabha, a very similar question to you. Intel is renowned for its innovation culture. And so, how does the company foster an environment where engineers can thrive and drive technological advancements? As well as, are there any programs for incoming freshers or engineers already with Intel? And what does their career trajectory look like? If you could elaborate on that, that'd be really helpful for people watching us today.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think so. When it comes to Intel, I think one key thing, and I can talk about it even from my personal experiences. Um, the the Intel organization is technology centered, right? It is completely tops, right from the CEO down is all a technology centered organization, and Intel is known for fostering that technology and innovation through its entire inception to now, right? uh, One great experience about working at Intel is that you get a wide view of any business, any technology that you work on. It is never a narrow view, it is the entire wide view of working on it, right? So it really gives you that big perspective and a full view of the challenges, the open issues, and also the solutions, right, which helps you become better at any technology that you're working on. So that's a great one. The other thing is the diversity of technologies that Intel works on, right from core silicon process technologies all the way to state of art software and applications. And it's not about technologies in isolation, but technologies to solve some real uh, business cases and customer use cases, right? That is a great, I would say, a great experience for any technologist who's joining in. With respect to culture, I would say this is, Intel is one of those most egalitarian companies where the technical leadership is always valued. That's how I personally always saw it and I experienced, right? Um, and it's also quite inclusive with respect to the type of views, the type of spectrum of expertise and backgrounds, and it makes a much more richer, teams that bring in a lot of different views, come together and solve the problem really out of box. Every team and every business that I have been at Intel, right? And the usually it's a very open debate, and a very constructive criticism. This is something that we very often use and we often encourage, is that constructive criticism and an open debate to solve problems. That has been great strength with respect to Intel, right? So these are some of the culture tenets that we work on. With respect to programs, there's been a lot of programs again at Intel. I think one thing is about student ambassadors. It's widely known there are a lot of student ambassadors today that get inducted into Intel, understand what technologies, and work very closely when they are at school. So there's a lot of interaction right at the university level that we have that also helps us to bring in some really good interns into Intel and convert them into very successful engineers, full-time engineers at Intel. So there's been some really good success stories. In fact, you see at Intel, you would see a lot of folks who have been at Intel, who joined as a fresh joinee at Intel and have had very successful decades of career. Right? There are several success stories at Intel. So that's a great one. For anybody who's a lateral hire, including me, I can, again, talking about it from a personal experience too, there's a great integration. There are a lot of great integration programs and very, very personalized based on the business that you're coming in and the type of work you're working with, where you can bring in your experience, enrich the existing business, and also learn together. Right? So there are several programs across Intel, both for technical leadership and also organizational and people leaders. Right? Several programs that help. Very, very structured programs with very immersive, I would say, experiences that really help people to build their careers on. So, and with respect to innovation specifically, if you see, there is a good amount of a very healthy patenting culture at Intel, we and also a publishing culture that you would see that really helps the entire teams, a large collaboration, and build those technologies and build that depth and breadth as the person's aptitude or interest would be, and towards moving their own careers. Right. Apart from this, especially at mid-senior and senior levels, we also see a good amount of personal mentoring from some of our leaders that really helps each one of the leaders to really grow at any level they are in, both technical path and the people or organizational leader path. We have a very strong technical ladder path that comprises of principal engineers, senior principal engineers, fellows, senior fellows, which is a very coveted path that, and also an industry recognized path for world-class technical talent. Right. So in summary, I would say a great place, right, from people who are aspiring to join as college graduates into Intel, with great internship programs, and also college, new college joinees, to even lateral hires who are looking at expanding their careers and enriching their careers as moving forward.
Thank you so much, Prabha, for that overview. It seems like there's a lot of avenues and a lot of programs that help engineers' trajectory and induct them into Intel. I think one of my points that I wanted to discuss today and would be most relevant, and Manjeet, you can begin, is what skill sets are you looking for engineers to bring? I know that's a very, very big question in very few words, but feel free to break it down per skill type or per field or per domain. But I'm sure there's a lot of attendees really either trying to build those skills or have those skills. Would like to hear from you directly.
Absolutely, Aparna. When I was in college, in fact, Prabha touched upon the fact that many people join Intel at the beginning of their career, and then they stay for really long. I had joined Tally as a college fresher, and I've been here for almost 11 years now. So I can relate to a lot of what she said. And this question is very relevant, which you just shared, because back when I was in college, I remember thinking that, I wish I could hear from somebody working in the industry who could tell me that what are the three things that I need to be doing that, I can really do. So I'll get to that, and so the core I think remains the same while the technology landscape has shifted. The one thing that we are obsessed at Tally is that do you understand the fundamentals, and that is a very generic statement, but it is also applicable to everything. Like if we take, for example, web development, then are you comfortable with a framework only? For example, there are many frameworks out there. React Native, for example, let's take an example. Are you comfortable only with that, or are you comfortable with the JavaScript programming language also, in which that framework is written? And then we generally like to go at least one level down to say, okay, when you're working with JavaScript, do you understand, is it an interpreted language, is it a compiled language, what is JavaScript's runtime environment, how does it get compiled, what is event loop? So some of the engineers struggle with these things, and the point is to have a long career as these frameworks come and go. Today you have ABC, and then I'm very sure 5 years down the lane we will have a new framework, but the fundamentals don't change as frequently. So one generic advice would be to focus on the fundamentals. If you're working in C++, do you know how does the program get compiled and how does the processor actually run it? Are you comfortable with how does the addressing work? If you know that, you are definitely going to have an edge over everyone else who is just focusing on the functional part. Having told this generic thing, I will list down some of the very specific things that we look for. One is if you are comfortable with database development, right? The principles of database development, then please do reach out to me. We are looking for people who can write amazing databases. If you are comfortable with system programming, compilers, and memory management, that is something again we are always looking out for those programmers. Then it comes to cloud and networking protocols. That if you are comfortable with the fundamentals of cloud, and do you understand networking really well? And by that again, I don't mean at the top level what is OSI model, but what goes behind it in the layer. So that is something that we do look at very seriously. Then security and encryption. That is another key topic. As we move increasingly digital, the data privacy and protection becomes more and more important. So that is another field. And of course, like we said, no conversation is complete without the mention of AI and ML. So again, if you are into data science, if you are comfortable with the algorithms and the frameworks, uh, there are umpteen opportunities within Tally that we are looking for. So this is, I would just want to take a few more seconds to say that this is on the development side of things. But there are very exciting opportunities even on the QA side, that when you have a high performance system needs only not the best programmers, but also the best QA folks. We need a really strong quality assurance team. So if you are comfortable with the testing frameworks, you understand how to really do white box testing, that is something again we look for very aggressively, again in the similar fields. Then of course, as we are moving, there are things that are moving on the web and mobile app development. If you are a web developer, if you are a mobile app developer, we are agnostic to framework, but if you are a very good mobile app developer, we have a number of opportunities that are there.
Thank you so much, Manjeet. That was really helpful. Same question to you, Prabha. What advice or what skills do you look for incoming engineers? What is the skill sets that at this point Intel is looking out for? We'd love to hear from you as well.
Sure, Aparna. I think we're looking for a diverse set of skills. On the hardware part, I think specifically we are looking at logic design, verification, structural design. We are looking for those world-class designers who would be interested in working on our silicon, right? That's what essentially we are looking for. When it comes to more system software specifically, we are also looking for engineers who have experience around system software, right from I would say driver design development all the way upper to the higher layers with respect to even both design development and validation around system software, because we build along with our silicon, we build very production quality system software that is consumed by our customers. So this is another area that we are looking for. And so if there are engineers who are very much interested in really pushing the envelope with respect to system software, we'd be really looking for that part. And compiler design is another big area that we are hiring on. So if you have experience and in compiler design, that would really where you're looking at world class compilers, most efficient compilers for our silicon, really you're welcome to apply. With respect to other higher layers of software, definitely, we are looking at cloud software experts, people who have worked on hosted software, people who have worked around security, around building microservices for hosted software. We are looking at that. We are also looking, of course, for AI software and applications engineers who have built right from models all the way to AI applications, optimize them on any target silicon. So if you have both worked at much lower level to optimize models, or have worked at AI applications level, we are definitely looking at such skill sets too.
Fantastic. So there's a lot of skill sets that are
Oh
relevant
yes.
across the board. Since we are at the last few minutes of today's webinar, there's some questions that have come from attendees. And please, Prabha and Manjeet, feel free to both take turns and answer, or if it seems more relevant to either or. But there's somebody who's asked if they could shift careers into data science or AI, and they've been in the manufacturing industry for a long time. So any advice from both you seasoned professionals would be helpful here. Is this switch even possible? Are there avenues to make this switch? And how do you feel about career switches?
Prabha, you want to go first?
Oh, yes, sure. My favorite topic, I can tell you. Um, Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. If it's perfectly okay to switch careers as long as you have the aptitude and the interest and the will to do it. Right. Because I think in general, as engineers and technologists, it's we are never still. Right. The technology is evolving, and the only way we can keep current is to learn the technologies as they are evolving, and keep ourselves abreast. So irrespective of the domain that you are in, definitely you could pick up new skills, which includes, yes, whether it's machine learning, data science, or AI. Absolutely. And now, I would suggest the way you could always get started is by any of the courses that you can pick up. There is now, there's no dearth of courses that are available today for anybody who's interested to learn. Huge amount of opportunities today that we could use. Beyond that, my favorite would be always on the job learning. Right. Pick as you are working on a specific your current job, you could always pick that extension, invest that extra time, and start to learn. Personally, I have mentored, and I have also personally also switched domains and technologies, and I don't think it's always a rewarding experience. It's a great experience once you're through it.
I
Fantastic.
100% agree with that. And just one small point I would want to add to what Prabha said is that so data science doesn't really work in isolation. You need to
Yes.
apply it to a domain. So I think the person who asked has been working in manufacturing domain. So you will be able to transfer that domain knowledge and then apply data science to it. So that is really the way to think about it. If somebody is coming from a data science background, then they will need to understand your domain. You already know the domain, so that is the way to look at it. Instead of thinking that, okay, I'm starting from scratch, you have to look at your transferable skills, and then you have to see how can you make the most of it. But yes, absolutely, please go ahead and make the switch.
That's fantastic. Since we are out of time today for this session, I'll just take this moment to thank you. This was extremely informative, Manjeet and Prabha. I took a lot of things away from this, and thank you for joining us. And I'm sure there's attendees and engineers looking on to you and really inspired today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I
Absolutely.
enjoyed the conversation. Thanks a lot.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay.